Today I'm going to review the Twsbi Vac 700. I really like the brand Twsbi. They're Taiwanese, and what they do is produce interesting pens for very reasonable prices. This pen is fascinating because of the filling mechanism. It is a vacuum-filled pen, as opposed to a piston-filled, which is a piston that goes up and down, drawing ink up, or a cartridge converter, which plugs in and then usually has a piston inside the cartridge, sometimes with a button. I really only seen the button cartridge on the Pilot Con 70 cartridge converter, which only fits in Pilot pens. But that being said, this one's a vacuum-filled pen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you all the pieces of the pen. I'm going to give this pen some ratings out of 5, rating the design, the comfort, and the writing experience. Then I'm going to do the writing sample, and then we'll be done. So before I show you the parts of the pen, I'm just going to show you how this works. So you take off the cap, and hopefully this works on camera here, but you unscrew this end cap, you draw out this kind of piston thing, I guess, to the end of the pen, and then you hold on 1 second. I had some ink ready for this. Here it is. Should have had this ready to go. And hopefully I can just one-handed. Now this is J. Herbin ink, but it's a full bottle. So what you do is you stick the pen in there, and then you push this down. Now watch, click, and it fills right up. Now you can do that a couple times, and it'll fill up even more. I'm not going to do that. This isn't my pen. I have to give it back, and I don't really want to give away all my ink, because I actually really like this color. So you do that, cap this, wipe it off, and there you go. You got a very decent fill from one, you get more from more. Now, what's interesting about this is if you're going to write for a long time, you leave this kind of loose, because when you put it all the way in, it seals up against here, and it stops any more ink from flowing out. So if you were to take this on a plane, it would protect it from the expanding and contracting ink and air in there that comes from altitude changes and pressure changes, and it would stop this pen from leaking, or in your pocket. But so if you want to write for a long time, just back it off a little bit to free up the ink to flow into the section, and when you're done, tighten it up. So that's how it feels. Really cool. And now let's do the piece of the pen. Okay, so these are the parts of the pen. As you can see, it is a blue color. It is a clear demonstrator. The shape goes out a bit, in and out again. So it's kind of interesting. So let's start with the cap. The cap is faceted, and the facets remind me a lot of the ones on the Twsbi 580. We have the Twsbi logo in red, and I really like that. I always like the Twsbi logo, and I like the fact that it's in red in all their pens, regardless of what the pen looks like. It's shiny chrome there, and you actually have a matte brush metal finish on the clip, which is interesting. Nothing else in the pen is matte. I kind of like matte, but I'm not sure if it fits in with this pen. I guess that's something you have to decide for yourself. It says Vac 700 in Taiwan, because that's where it's made. And around here it says Twsbi. So that is the cap. It obviously tapers down that way. This clip is actually nice springy clip, and it clips to a shirt really well. So then we have the barrel, which is not faceted. It is round and smooth. Goes down. You can see the ink level inside moving around because it's a demonstrator, but a blue one, which is nice. Then you have the shiny ring there, and then you have the thing that operates the piston the vacuum thing in and out. I loosen up a bit like this so that the ink can flow into the feed when I'm writing, or I can tighten it and then it blocks it off. Then you can write for only a short time. It is a pretty good system, I think. So then we have the section, and there's actually quite a big step down from here because it bows out to this section, which is decent size, a little bit narrow, but fits well in my hand. This pen fits well in my hand, actually. The whole thing just really nice. So it goes out a bit there where it's shiny. And we have the nib. The nib is pretty simple. It is a steel nib. And focus in on it. It has some scroll work. It has the Twsbi logo. Underneath it says Twsbi. I see because there are reflections, but it says Twsbi, and it says B for broad. This is a broad nib. And then just a feed. So that's about it. Those are the parts of the pen. Oh, this thing is faceted like the cap is. And those are the parts of the pen. So those are the pieces of the pen. Onto the ratings. For design, I give this pen a 4.5. Just aesthetically, I give it a 4. I don't like the looks of it as much as I like the 580. The blue is nice. I don't own a lot of blue pens. Maybe it's just my preference. I don't know. But the blue's still nice. You can see inside it, which is interesting. There are things to like about it. But it also gets bumped up to 4.5 because of the design of that vacuum filling system. It's fascinating, it's interesting, it's a older technology applied to a new pen. There's a lot to like about it. For comfort, I give this pen a 4. Fits in my hand nicely, weight's decent, balance pretty good, solid 4. Like to hold it. For writing experience, it's a 4 again. It is a smooth writer. No issues with hard starts or skips, just keeps up really nicely, relatively wet. Again, solid 4. I like this pen a lot. It is very interesting and comfortable and nice to write with. There's not much more you can ask for. So I'm going to give this pen I'll give you the measurements of this pen, now you have the ratings, and then we'll do the writing sample and we're off. So length is 147 millimeters, not a small pen. Unposted is 134. Posted, you can just post it, I guess. I don't know if it's good for it. I don't put it on there very hard. It gets really big and top heavy. There's weight in this cap. The section is 10.5, which is okay. I like it just slightly bigger than that, honestly, but then you're just quibbling. The weight is 31 grams. That's with a cap on, but that's also when I weighed it, it was empty, so it weighs a bit more at the moment. I don't know exactly what it is. I'm not going to go reweigh it. Slightly more than 31 grams. So that's the pen, writing sample, and then we're done. Alright, let's do the writing sample. This is the Twsbi Vac 700. I'm actually going to loosen that up so that the ink can flow. This is a broad nib, and the ink is J Herbin, and it is the Poussier de Lune, and I believe I spelled that wrong, but I don't have the bottle right in front of me to check, so please forgive me. So let's do some writing. Once upon a time, there was a Grumpy Vacuum, which I spelt wrong. Befriended a brave toaster. If anyone remembers the plot to the Brave Little Toaster. So it writes really smoothly. This is a steel nib, but man, it is really nice to write with. It lays on a nice wide line. Flows really nicely. It is not dry. Let's see. It is not dry at all. Nice and wet. And it just flows really nicely. It's right really quickly. Not being legible, but yeah, it was not being legible, but yeah, that like keeps up, and it just still really nicely. No skips at all, no hard starts. Just beautiful, actually. Really nice to write with. Now let's see, is there any line variation? Here's no pressure, one more pressure, one more pressure, lots of pressure, no pressure. So there's actually barely any. Yeah, that's fine. There's almost none. This is a steel nib, this is not a flex nib. There really doesn't need to be any because it writes just so nicely. I don't miss it at all. So there's that. Does it write in the reverse? Actually, not at all. 0 right on the reverse. That's a pity, I guess, if you like to do it. I don't, so it doesn't bother me at all. And a little doodle. And yeah, it's pretty good for doodling. It's nice for writing. It's nice for doodling. Steady line. And it's just fine. I'm going to draw maybe a grumpy vacuum. Grr, it says. So yeah, this is a really nice pen, nice to write with. I like it a lot. So thanks for watching. If you like the video, make a comment. Subscribe to the channel. There's plenty more coming. And until then, goodbye.